So now I would like to introduce you to my friend, Phil Radcliff. Phil is the CEO of Centerline Biomedical. This is a company that's based or spin out of the Cleveland Clinic. Full disclosure, Jobs Ohio is an investor in this great Cleveland Clinic spin out. And I couldn't be more impressed with Phil and his team that he's building in Cleveland, Ohio. Phil, welcome.
All right, we on? Great, perfect. Well, nice to meet everyone. My name is Phil Radcliff, the CEO of Centerline Biomedical. Just imagine an 81-year-old patient, female, goes in for a mesenteric repair so that they can put a stent in so that this patient can take care of the GI distress that she has had. Unfortunately, during that procedure, the physicians and the staff subject themselves to 3.5 hours of fluoroscopy and radiation and never get a cannulated or a guide wire or a catheter into that SMA to be able to perform the stent. Patient is dissatisfied, physician and staff are dissatisfied. We come back, they use our IOPS program that I'll talk about today, our platform technology called the intraoperative positioning system. They go to cannulate that mesenteric artery in order to place that stent, and they do it in 24 seconds. I'll tell you, it was a watershed moment for me to see the staff actually begin to clap in an OR. And that's what we're here to present today, and this is the technology called IOPS by Centerline Biomedical. So the problem is this. Procedures were very much done in an open fashion, we all know that. Then they moved to an endovascular approach. And in the middle there, you see these complex endovascular aneurysm repair stents. There's branches, there's fenestrations, and the byproduct of that, of going through an endovascular route, is that it takes longer for these surgeries, subjecting to longer procedure times and more radiation. And you're still relying on decades-old two-dimensional fluoroscopy. I use the analogy, sometimes it's like maps. We used to always go everywhere with grayscale 2D maps in order to get from point A to point B. Now we wouldn't use anything but Google Maps or Waze in order to get there. But unfortunately, fluoro and fluoroscopy that's used today is analogous to those two-dimensional maps. It emits radiation. There's been many physicians that have died over this, and that's really the mission over why we started Centerline Biomedical. And there's growing legislation. There was a congressional briefing yesterday we were with on new legislation that we're looking to move forward on minimizing this radiation risk. So this is IOPS. On the left here, you see what fluoroscopy is and what it looks like. Imagine trying to place catheters and guide wires within that being your viewing angle. And then look to the right what IOPS gives you. It gives you 3D color images that doesn't use radiation. You can take any of those viewports, you can magnify in, magnify out, and you have the benefit of your catheters and your guide wires that have electromagnetic sensors at the distal tips to allow you to become extremely deliberate on where you want to go. So you want to go ahead and access that SMA or mesenteric artery, you can do that in a matter of minutes, not hours. The value proposition across all our current platform and future platforms, which I'll talk about in a minute, is really around this precise placement of implantables, catheters, guide wires, and we're moving to stents. Number two, it's the reduction of surgical time. I just talked to you about the patient that I just referenced previously. You can't even underestimate how much time you actually saved in that procedure, and actually were able to get a procedure done with our system. You have less radiation, and you have less contrast dye. All significant issues in the current surgical environment. So our current product today, IOPS, is FDA approved and cleared in the descending aorta as an adjunct to fluoro. But we're moving quickly into other areas that could really see the benefit of better visualization. Those are the peripheral space, the structural heart space, the neuro, and then moving to PCI in the coronary space. Especially as it relates to the structural heart world, a lot of the stuff that we're working on is around TAVR and commissure alignment, and also as it gets to transeptal crossing, which is a big issue as far as left side heart conditions into where do you actually place that needle optimally in order to make your future procedures more beneficial to you and the patient. So this is where we're moving, and I'll talk about development timeline in a minute. So what is IOPS? What actually are we talking about? It is a mobile cart. It comes into any hybrid room or hybrid suite. It's on wheels, so that's easy to move in and out of a procedure. We're also agnostic to who your current imaging supplier is. So your GE, your Siemens, your Philips, your Toshiba, Canon, we can work with any of them. You then have underneath the table an electromagnetic field generator and a sensor interface unit, those affixed to the table with hand screws. And then you have proprietary catheters, guide wires, and a trackpad. And those are fiducial. The trackpad's a fiducial trackpad, so that if the patient were to move on the table at any time during the procedure, your IOPS cart, your image there, will correct real time. The recurring revenue streams are really around a SaaS-based component, the disposables that I talked about, the catheters and guide wires and the trackpad, and then there's a one-time capital cost. We've seen some great successes in our cases so far, continuing to build a library of data that we have submitted to a couple of prominent journals, and one got accepted yesterday that I'll talk about here in a minute. So we're beginning to build this clinical evidence. So the first cases, a lot of the physicians and key academic institutions in the US have submitted that. The first one to the Journal of Vascular Surgery. We've got a time study that shows a 50% reduction in cannulation time, equating to an $11,000 savings per EVAR procedure. It's very easy and very usable, so it doesn't interfere with typical surgical workflow. And then we've got the last one that just got submitted and approved to the Journal of Endovascular Therapy yesterday, which talks about stent integration. So you allow proper placement of that stent within the vasculature. There's 3 models of which to acquire the product. You can outright purchase it. It's a capital upfront. There's an annual SaaS-based license for a license to the software, and then you pay for the disposables. There's also a way we offer a lease model and also a per procedure model. So we're flexible to the customer as far as how they want to acquire the technology. Most importantly, at the bottom, we have got a target this year of between $5 and $7 million. This is our first year of launch. So we're seeing very good adoption. We've got a pipeline of north of $17 million on an entrenched base of only 4 sales professionals located in the East. My point is there's a lot of growth potential with this moving forward. This is our timeline for future applications and indications. EVAR were approved, we're moving to structural heart, and we've got development partners across some of these areas. 17 broad patents and 38 pending. They cover both the US and abroad. That covers many different facets of this technology. Got a world-class, what I believe, management team. I've spent 25 years now in MedTech and healthcare. We've got Vikas Goyal, who's our CTO and founder, sitting right to my left, and it's his brainchild that actually created this, and I'm very welcome and blessed to work with Vikas. And we've actually augmented the team quite a bit. Our scientific advisory board is a who's who of those in the cardiovascular and structural heart space. There's plenty of areas of opportunity for who exit potential partners would be, whether that be imaging companies or device companies that have capital components to what they sell. And I'll end with where we're at with financing. So we closed an A in the end of 2019. We're in the middle of a B right now. Lots of interest for it. And I welcome a conversation with any of you today if interested in investment with Centerline. Thank you for coming here today, and I just want to personally thank the team. Our team was resilient this year during COVID. We were able to scale, launch, and build the organization and actually place units during a very tough time for our nation and world. Thank you.